I was raised as a homeschool evangelical Christian, and I was involved with like politics strongly. I worked with the Madison Project. It's a super PAC. They would pull homeschoolers out, like Virginia, Kentucky. Wasn't allowed to, date without being betrothed, hang out with people of other denominations, whatever. So my friend moved to New York. She started sending me kind of like just hours of tapes of your show. She was obsessed with Janeane.
Wow.
And
wait a second.
Let
me ask you this. Sorry. So your friend, was she also like homeschooled, or where did you know your friend from?
So yeah, she was homeschooled. She was homeschooled. Kind of her mom was sort of a hippie.
Okay.
And she ended up going to this thing called Teen Pact, which was just kind of like a student government. Kind of like we go into the state capitol and debate bills or whatever. So she kind of just randomly ended up there.
Interesting. Okay.
So I guess the point of what I was just calling to say was, she spent years, trying to kind of not like convert me, but just kind of just speak into my life. And she'd send me hours and hours of your show. I had you, and I had this like Focus on the Family teen show, this awful call-in show, Dawson McAllister. I was really, really, really isolated. And wow. I mean, it took 7 years of just being exposed to it. And there was this kind of thing where they wanted to go protest gay marriage, the same thing called Madison Project. And, I had that in the back of my mind combined with the stuff I learned from you, or, was exposed to by you and Janeane. And like, I mean, I've been, I guess my point was more that like, even beyond electoral politics, like, you may not be able to convert people right away or at all. It's just profoundly affected my life, my relationships, my relationships with my kids, my friends, my social life in general. I have so much meaning and just kind of like profound change that happened. And yeah, I eventually started voting and, doing volunteer work, etc. That took years. And I just think it's like important for people, and especially if you can speak the language of Christianity. I still keep in contact with everybody from my church, and some of them are gone and some of them are not. Stuff like gay marriage and Medicare for all is so popular with Republicans, even if they'll never vote for it. And they're just probably more open, from having been exposed to those things from people that they care about.
So what was it? I mean, I'm curious because you're listening to Focus on the Family radio hour or whatever it was. And Janeane and I on the Majority Report, I do not think that we had the Christian vernacular down.
Oh, you did not. I mean, I was kind of forced. I was forced into it. So, I got 7 years old, worrying about going to hell all of the time. Things did not feel right.
How old were you when your friend went down to New York? I mean, presumably like in your 20s or your teens, right?
Yeah, I think I was 16.
Okay. Wow.
15. So, we had been talking for years, and she never pressed it down my throat, never, shoved it down my throat, but it was just, there's something wrong. I just felt weird with the war in Iraq. Like, I remember being very angry. Actually, I must've been 13. Sorry. I remember being very angry about the war in Iraq. And angry about, about this other country doing this to us. And as I began to realize that was wrong, maybe a little bit of Michael Moore, but it really was just listening to your show, really having no other outlet.
That is, I'm going to cut this and send this to Janeane. I think she will really appreciate it. But so tell me what happened with your, and I appreciate it too, but tell me what happened with your parents. Like, what's your relationship with your family now that you have like, do you still identify as Christian? Do you like, how did it play out with your family?
To be honest, with my family, they're kind of aware that I, have that like agnostic points of view. With the people from my church or whatever, I really just talk to them the way I would have before. I haven't said whether or not I am or am not. I think that if you look to Christianity at face value, especially the New Testament, a lot of what you guys talk about, a lot of what we believe as progressives, the Bible is those things. So it's very, there's the QAnon thing, and you really can't talk to people like that. For everybody that's just sort of like, just pushing around like their own struggles with health insurance or whatever. These things seem to be really appealing to them. And, I will just kind of talk to them the way that I was talked to in church.
Interesting. And
I appreciate,
well, I'm just curious as to like what, so for something like Medicare for All, as people are struggling with health insurance, let's say, for instance, or even let's say this COVID relief, how do you bridge that gap? Like you start talking about it and you go like, you can't, say what you will about Elizabeth Warren and Ed Markey. They would support us getting health insurance. Cause I imagine Elizabeth Warren is way down on the list that some of the folks at church appreciate. Right. I mean,
for sure. It's almost our kind of hatred of other people. I was really surprised to see people finally understand that Mitch McConnell is their enemy. I feel like after COVID, there's been so much stuff that we're all kind of on the same page with, at least identifying the issue. But we come to these different things. And so either you really do go get lost. And I've seen like half of my friends from church are educated, 4-6 year degrees, like I've just gone. That other 50%, I wouldn't necessarily mention Elizabeth Warren. A lot of them do like Bernie. I'm trying to think of the guy from Ohio. I'm having a little bit of a blank.
Sherrod Brown.
I can't remember his name.
Sherrod Brown or
Rod Brown, yeah.
I'm really sorry. I can't think of. He's just an extremely kind of progressive, but also blue collar politician. Or he comes off as
Sherrod Brown.
Yes, like I have friends that are Christians that love, or they're more conservative that love that guy. I love the way he talks. There's this like, I think this happens on both the left and the right. There's like some kind of like anger towards the elites, quote unquote, and just finding either ways to speak to people and saying like, this really is the most Christian thing to do. And kind of break them out of this idea that it's socialism, or just talking about how this would profoundly affect your own life, and stuff like the moral stuff. Some of it's difficult. Like my dad is pro-life, and he absolutely hates Democrats, and he voted for Biden, but voted in Massachusetts. There's kind of a late-term abortion bill that was up, I think a couple months ago, and that for him can't vote for a Democrat. Besides for Biden, because you need to have either that kind of splitting of power or whatever, because they're just going to bring late term abortion bills. I mean, that is something that I honestly don't know how to approach, and that's not something that I can. But sometimes just getting people to like at least accept the policies are not a bad thing, kind of. You know what I mean?
Well, that's really.
But even if we're doing it, and they're just their party's out of power, but there's a ton of people that support Biden's agenda. But not Biden. They think he's actually not even, really president, or not rightfully president, but they actually overwhelmingly support, the COVID relief. Maybe even just having people not be just so resistant to it if when Democrats are in power to be able to do these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Give me 3 or 4 words that are, that when you hear them, that you're talking to a Christian.
Okay. I mean, so often, you definitely put me on the spot here.
Right,
if you're talking to somebody who has that like kind of spiritual vibe, like a Nina Turner, if she wasn't so obviously progressive, people would love her. That way of like you say, my brothers and sisters, in Christ, sometimes they'll use the term fisher of men, which is just like, you're supposed to pull people into Christianity, but it's almost like if you feel like you should evangelize to people that are actually kind of used to the idea that like we should be doing missionary work all the time.
What did you
Speaking
say
about love
and
Christ and selflessness and stuff has been kind of like effective for me.
Fisher of men.
Okay. Oh, fisher as in
that's what Jesus fisher. Yeah, like a person casting like a fishing rod or something. That's because Jesus, with his disciples, that's what he would say.
So what I would say like that Bernie Sanders, he's a real fisher of men.
Yeah, you could. The thing is like, definitely, I would say if you're not evangelical, people will see through that,
I got a feeling that somebody might see through that when I say that.
Definitely. I guess I would just encourage your listeners, if they have people that do trust them on an individual level and disagree with them. And like I said, even if you can't change their electoral politics, that it's important just to talk to people, and especially when we're losing people to this other thing. Like, people recognize there's a wild problem, but they're just abandoning all logic and reason, because the thing is so real. We all know it. We can all feel it now. COVID's made it clear. And some people are saying, like, what can we do about it? And other people are saying, like, well, here's this other fantasy world.
Yeah, I think
it's really important to talk to people.
Well, Jesse, I appreciate the call. Let me just say, bless your heart. You're a great American.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Thank you. I
All right, Sam, you go.
All right, thanks, man.
Sorry for
appreciate the
Have
call.
a good night. A good day.
All right, you too.